Good evening and welcome to the next round of the Skippy season. That's Skip Barbers at Watkins Glen for round 4 of the iRacing UK Skip Barber League, exclusively streamed for you via iRacing, the world's premier motorsport simulation. Who are iRacing UK? We are a community of enthusiastic and inclusive racers from across the UK who like to run social races, practice sessions, leagues, but most importantly, share experiences and our passion for sim racing. I am Nick Allen, and joining me tonight, once again, is the incredibly quick point scoring machine from the F3 League. It's Chris Rowlands. Welcome, Chris. Tonight, we are at the epic saga that has been the Skip Barber League. It's been thrills and spills. After your first time in the commentary box back at Donington, what would you say you've been looking forward to the most this evening?
You're too kind, Nick. Good evening, everyone. And yep, we have loads to look forward to tonight. Lots of drafting opportunities for the drivers, particularly up to the bus stop chicane. We're going to see chaos on the first few laps as the tyres warm up, I'm predicting. It's a very difficult track to be quick on in the Skippy with cold tyres, or at least it was for me when I practiced it. One thing that might help is Paddy has had a word with the officials here at Watkins Glen and had the session moved back to 9 a.m. from 11 a.m. So the track temps are just a little bit more favourable than they might well have been. Still, I reckon the boot section is going to cause some problems because it's been missed in the official Skippy sessions this week. So expect some drivers to get caught out. We're in store for an excellent race.
It's very good of Paddy to bribe the officials, isn't it? I wonder what he
It
had to give
is.
them for that. Yeah. Well, as always, we will be taking your questions throughout the broadcast. So feel free to drop us a message over on the Twitch chat where you should be watching us right now. We look forward to hearing from everybody. So get those questions in and let us know who you're going to be cheering for here tonight and who you think is going to be victorious in these little Skip Barber cars as they go head to head here at Watkins Glen. Now, we've got the chicane here tonight, Chris. So that's going to be a little bit different to the Formula 3 race that we watched here just a couple of weeks ago, where we were seeing a lot of people taking advantage of the draft. Now, I've been having a look at the results from the last few weeks of Skip Barber racing that we've seen, and I've noticed a couple of things. Now, tell me if you're surprised by any of this, Chris. So, first off, we've not yet seen the same top three. We're not seeing the same top podium, regardless of position, which I think we have definitely done in a couple of the other leagues. Now, the other thing that was quite interesting was the closest battle here for like a P1, P2 photo finish that we've had was only 1/10 of a second, and that was the first race. Ever since then, we've not seen anything quite as close as that. Another thing that we've kind of seen in the last few weeks of racing is Mr. Briggs, Vance Briggs. He got his first podium at Donington after he'd been kind of loitering around in the top 10 over the first couple of races. Round 3, he managed to bring it home, take advantage of a couple of mistakes, and then bring it to that third step. And then I think the only other thing that was kind of interesting compared to, say, the F3, for example, was there's no drivers here that have made it into the triple figures yet, unlike Matt Loebser in the Formula 3, who's got quite the commanding lead at the minute. Any of those little factoids surprise you, Chris?
Quite surprised we've not seen any drivers pulling away because take, for example, Keith Sharp. He's very quick in the Skip Barber and we're seeing him very quick as well in the Mazda League, but he's just not had that rub of the green. He keeps getting involved in incidents that, to be honest, he's not really had any fault or blame lying in them. A lot of them have just been racing incidents, but compare it to Matt Laubscher, who has just been able to sail away in every race in the F3. It does mean we've got a nice wide open championship. Although we say that, Rob Exelby has got quite a nice little lead over Keith, and then Gary, Neil, and Josh just a little bit further back. Carl as well in 6th is on 38 points. So we've got a few people still in contention.
Well, we've got the full championship standings there for you. Do you want to take us through those right now, Chris?
Yeah, we can do that. So as I just said, we've got Rob Exelby up on top on 75 points, and then 18 points further back on 57, Keith Sharp. Followed there, 13 points behind him, Gary Smith on 44. And then the pack bunches up a little bit. Then we've got Neil Bamber, Josh Pratt, Carl Cranswick, Vance Briggs. Then a bit more of a gap down to Rhys Saunders, who's level on points with Martin Rendell, Morgan Driscoll. That rounds out the top 10. Gary Bacon is currently in 11th, followed by Dave Devine, Craig Schill, Josh Wilson, Tony Blenkinsop, Andreas Granberg, Andrew Bertie, John Evans, Guy Robertson, and Trevor Davis rounds out the top 20.
Okie dokie. We are looking fantastic this evening. We've got qualifying underway at the moment. Just having a little look at the chat right now. Vance Briggs. The Vance is said rhyming with ants rather than ants. Okay, Vance. Very sorry for that, Vance Briggs. I will stop saying it like a Vance, like a posh royalist or something, or whatever I sound like. Sorry about that, chat. So, okay, we're currently having a look at Mr. Sharp, Keith Sharp, one of our front runners in a lot of the races we've seen so far. Keith, not so lucky at Donington. He was down in 12th place after an incident earlier in the race. He ended up finishing one lap back from the rest of the pack. Keith at the moment on the top of the charts, though, with a 2:10 on his last lap. So it's a 2:10.91. That puts him almost a whole second ahead of Josh Pratt in P2 at the moment. We've also got Patrick Bennett there in third, followed by Neil Bamber. Vance Briggs also there in the top five, and then followed by Rob Exelby, the man who, as you said a minute ago, Chris, has managed to keep himself well in contention for the championship win at the end of this. There's a few more rounds to go, so plenty of points to be had for all these guys. We've got a ride with Rob Exelby right now as we see him there, just crossing over onto the main that back straight up towards the chicane. So Chris, would you like to take us round the lap with Rob? It looks like he's
Can do a little bit of the way through. We're just into the bus stop chicane here. Especially on the first few laps, you want to be maybe not quite so brave because you can lose the car so easily around these corners. And then we're coming around to the outer loop. Again, very quick. We're going to see probably quite a lot of overtaking opportunities through here, going too wide, maybe on the outside, to then cut back onto the inside into the chute here. And again, there's so many lines that you can take with the Skippy here that don't lose out too much time. So if you're fighting, you've still got hope coming through here up to the toe. This is a very, very differently cambered corner to everything you've done so far on the lap. That differently coloured tarmac gives you a little bit more turning, so that's a little bit suboptimal from Rob there, but I'm sure it'll still be a quick time. We're fully into the boot here now. We're approaching the heel, probably one of the heavier braking points on the circuit, one of the slippier corners on the track as well. You'll see several people go wide there, I suspect, throughout the race. Here we are up into turn 9, which is the other slippy corner of the track. You're never quite sure how to take that corner. Do you want to take a wide line or really hug the curb? And then we'll come through here into turn 10, which is a quick left-hander. And again, first few laps, you need to be quite brave if you're going to be up the top, but maybe discretion's the better part of valor. And then here we go into the final corner, slight lift. Don't kill yourself on that wall there, or if you do, do it on the final lap so that we get a good shot, and we come across the start-finish line to finish the lap.
excellent stuff. Thanks very much for that, Chris. So Keith Sharp still with a commanding lead there, but Rob Exelby just boarded in there into second place, only a 10th off of Keith there. So good to see all these guys, Keith, Rob Exelby, and Neil Bamber up there in the top three, where we want to see them fighting for those points. Josh Pratt just behind, and Gary Smith in 5th place, followed by Vance Briggs, and then Andrew Bertie, followed by Patrick Bennett, and Luke Grunman in 9th at the moment. We'll keep watching these guys as they finish off the current qualifying session. We're currently with Tony Blenkinsop. We haven't followed Tony yet this evening, but let's see how Tony looks around this last section of the lap. It sounds like he's flat through there, Chris. I think, did you say, so quite brave into there, you suggested. I know that there's a couple of cars around here where the lift is very, very minimal around that left-hander. I think in the F3s, did you find that it was a case of having to be brave on the entry in the early laps, or could you keep the foot relatively flat round there?
Well, when we were here in the F3, it was quite hot temperatures. So especially on those early laps, you did have to be very gentle around that whole last section because, again, there's no point gaining an extra 10th or 2 if you're then spinning out and crashing, which happened to a few of our faster drivers, unfortunately. Well, I say unfortunately for them, not so much for me.
Excellent stuff. And we're on board now with Joe. We're going to follow him around this lap as he heads up the S's now, up towards the straight leading into that inner loop chicane, that bus stop chicane. This is the second flying lap for Joe at the moment. Already set 1 of 2 12. He's a couple of seconds off the front runners at the moment, but he's got himself nicely planted in the middle of pack, which should hopefully allow for a few battles with the likes of Rendell and Cranswick and Schill, who are currently around him. But maybe he can shave a bit of time off this particular lap here as we head into the outer loop now, and he can bring himself into contention for maybe a top 10 spot. Now, this, it looks like he's actually slowing down on that one, Chris. Has he been the lap, perhaps stepped out of line or run out of time maybe there?
Very easy to get a 1x through the bus stop. That might well have been what happened. I do wonder if that's happened to some of our others. Sam Spinell's not set a time, for example, who's one of our faster drivers, so he'll be charging through the field, I'm sure.
Yes, that's right. Sam was a newcomer to the last round of the Skip Barber series, and he actually placed P2 just behind Neil Bamber. Well, I say just behind, about 15 seconds behind, but nonetheless, a very good first appearance for Sam there. Here is your grid. Chris, would you like to run us through the top?
Certainly. So we've got Keith Sharp on pole with a 2:10.7, and just behind him, Rob Exelby will take the outside line into the first corner. Third is Neil Bamber, who is lining up alongside Josh Pratt. Gary Smith in fifth. Vance Briggs, apologies, Vance, in season sixth. Andrew Bertie in seventh. Paddy Bennett in eighth, which is a very high position for him. He's done very well there. Luke Grundman in ninth, and the top nine separated by exactly 1 second. Morgan Driscoll in 10th. Craig Shaw 11th. Joe McMullen is 12th. Martin Rendell 13th, followed by Carl Cranswick, Josh Wilson, Ian Winchester, Guy Robertson, Rob Noble, Jonathan Evans, Tim Cox, Jacob Rebotham, Sam Spinell, Tony Blenkinsop and Gary Bacon didn't set times, but I'm sure we'll see them do some charging through the field. Lots of potential overtaking opportunities here, so we should have lots of fun as lights are going to go any moment now, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just waiting now for the lights to come on. These guys ready and raring to go. Who's going to come out on top? Is it going to be Keith Sharp, Rob Exelby, or Neil Bamber into that first corner? We've also got the likes of Josh Pratt and Gary Smith behind, who are going to be looking to pick up those places. And let's not forget Vance Briggs in sixth position there. He's got to have some confidence after that last podium finish. So let's see what happens here. Tim Cox there in 20th place. Come on, Tim Cox. Come on for the commentary team. Let's see a good race from Tim as well. 45 minutes on the clock. These guys will have a mandatory pit stop as well. Make sure you get all of your comments into the chat, and we are ready to go with the lights ready to go out now. And it's lights out and away we go. Skip Barber, round 4 is underway. And who's got the commanding start here? It looks to me like Keith has managed to get away well, but Rob Exelby still in contention there. And then there's car 45 there of Neil Bamber also coming up the inside line. Look at that. Neil looking to get hungry there. And he's just looks like he's kept it ahead of Rob Exelby, who's gone pretty wide there, as has Keith Sharp. All these guys appearing to get through cleanly at the moment as they come now as much of a single file as they can, but it looks like P2 and P3 going side by side here. Who's going to tuck in behind? It's Neil Bamber who's decided to tuck in behind Rob Exelby as they head now up the long straight. But look at this, they're already, as they come onto the straight, getting ready to try and go 3 wide and make a maneuver. And it looks to me like Rob Exelby is the man who's got ahead at the minute. Only just though, he's only half a car like the head of Keith Sharp, and it looks like Keith has just yielded the place there, led him through. And then we've also got Neil Bamber still in third place, but Neil Bamber, he's got someone there behind him also in car 20. That's Gary Smith getting a little bit out of shape, but Josh Pratt looking for a move round the outside. But Neil Bamber has solidified his place in third there as they all head single file now down into chute for a nice clean lap 1 that we've seen so far. I think it looks to me down the pack that Josh Wilson and Spinell are fighting for position at the minute. Yeah, we've got some guys back there side by side. There's a lot of skippies on the track here vying for position. These early laps, very important for these guys as they are 2 by 2 up the hill there. Look at that incredibly close racing from all of these guys, all very clean so far. Look at that tail to nose, really dragging each other along. We see Keith Sharp there moving out to the inside on Exelby at the start. Look at that, he's going down the inside there on Exelby, and he's side by side. So, but Neil Bamber looking to get involved. Oh, we've got a crash there. We've got a couple of guys off. I'm not sure who that is right there. There's a couple. Sam Spinell, I think, that's gone down the pack there. and possibly one of the others. So Spinell, who we were seeing fighting for position earlier, dropped into the pits now after that accident. That is unfortunate. Look at the front runners, the 5 at the front, all incredibly close together at the moment, with Keith Sharp still leading them into the end of this first lap. But Exelby still hungry to get round as he pushes it a little bit too wide there into the final turn, not quite into the wall there. We're going to go over to a replay of that crash with Sam Spinell. What happens here, Chris? It's bit of rear tyre, front tyre contact there by the looks of it.
Yep, 2 don't go into 1 there, unfortunately. It's very difficult to hold the outside line, but if you're braking late on the inside, easy enough to crash into that person as well.
We've got action on turn 1 there by the looks of it. We'll go back to that in a minute as we watch Exelby, who has been passed by Bamber by the looks of it into turn 1 here, and he's now looking to get that position back as he follows incredibly closely. But Keith Sharp's not out of the woods either, because Bamber and Exelby incredibly close to the back of him as they're really closing in on the back of Keith now. Look at this. They're going to potentially be 3 wide here into the bus stop if nobody yields, and behind them there's a battle as well between cars 22 and 24. That's for 4th place. And look at this. They've all got through it cleanly. Keith Sharp having to yield the position, now down to 3rd after being in 1st at the start of that fight. But it's not over yet as he goes down the inside here on the outer loop, round the inside of Rob Exelby. Can he get it done? It looks to me like he's just ahead there. No, side by side. This is going to be tight as they head into shoot. Exelby is going to have to yield here and see if he can tuck it in as they head up to the next corner. Look at Bamber now. Bamber starting to get ahead here and make a little bit of a gap between Exelby and Sharp, who are going to be fighting here. But they've also got Gary Smith, who's now passed Josh Pratt and is going to try and get into contention for this 3rd place, maybe even 2nd place battle. We're going to ride now on board with Gary Smith. He comes up to the back of Keith Sharp. This is going to be incredibly tight to make a maneuver here, but Keith just having a little look to the inside. Maybe that's a little defensive move to let Gary know that he's there. He's aware of him. But Gary Smith staying on the tail at the minute. These front 3 battling very hard. There's every chance that the guys behind are going to be able to capitalize on an accident here, Chris, that's going to allow them to get some additional freebies.
Yeah,
wow, what a start.
Been some very skillful driving, especially from the front 5 there. They were so close to each other through both laps into the bus stop and no contact whatsoever. It just shows you how well these guys are driving at the moment.
We've got some comments in the chat. Thrilling stuff. Go Jacob and Tony and Paddy from Chris Eddy. Good luck, everybody, says 306 Rally. We're back on board with Josh Pratt now, who is following Gary Smith after having conceded that place already. He's going to want to grab that back as soon as he can. And with the front 3 fighting ahead, as Rob X will be going incredibly wide there in P2. As we hopefully Josh Pratt's going to be able to try and take advantage of the fact that maybe there's some fights going on ahead, and Gary Smith's going to get held up by that. Now, looking behind, we've got a couple more cars here fighting up into the S's, and that is, well, there's just too many of them, Chris. There's Vance there, and he's trying to make his way through the pack, and he's doing a fantastic job. He's passed Josh Wilson at the moment, and he's got Carl Cranswick behind for company as well. Only Joe Turner McMullen ahead and Craig Schill, and it looks like Vance Briggs passed by Wilson again here, but this is on the long straight. Who's going to make it through that chicane healthy? And it looks like they've all got through there in one piece. Fantastic work from Wilson there as he just managed to slip it past Briggs for I believe that is currently P12 that they are fighting for. Now they've got company from Carl behind. Carl, who's been incredibly strong in a lot of the races that we've seen so far, picking up places from back to front. We'll soon see if he's in a position to try and make a move and take some glory away from Mr. Briggs and Mr. Wilson ahead of him. Grunman has just managed to get ahead of Morgan Driscoll. That's the battle for P7. And those guys, I expect we'll see plenty more of as we go to the camera. Now, it's actually a 3-way battle we've got here between Grunman, Driscoll, and Bertie. So let's go see who comes out on top. It looks like Driscoll on the inside line there is looking incredibly strong. He's got round Grunman, and Bertie now just behind, trying to pick up the pieces on this fight if he can, or maybe take advantage of a little accident. Let's see if Bertie can make it happen with Grunman sticking to the back of Driscoll. Now, wow, this is fantastic racing from these guys, Chris.
It really is. Slightly defensive line there from Morgan, just to make sure that no move was taken into turn 9, because it just costs too much time for the both of them, especially when you think there's so much drafting opportunity in just about 30 seconds time. But that's why say for example, Paddy Bennett, where he's got a nice gap behind him now. He just wants to try and catch up with those in front of him, because if you're stranded on your own, it's using up that little bit more fuel, and you can make up so much time with that draft. So you
Grundman
really
moves to
don't
the
want to go on your
inside
own.
of Driscoll there. Look at that. He's actually got
Great
round
move.
Driscoll there. And then we've still got Bertie hanging on to the back of these guys. But Grundman looking like he's slowed down a little bit there. And Driscoll's managed to get back round him. And he's on the outside of the S's here as they go up to the straight. And Bertie's still behind. He's going to have all the slipstream to be in contention for a 3-wide battle here into the bus stop if this goes the way that I want it to, Chris. But look at that. Driscoll now just slowing on the outside there a little bit. And Grundman managing to just get probably about half a car length ahead there, even more so actually. It looks like Driscoll was a little bit slower there, but he's sticking behind him, making the most of it. Bertie moved to the inside there, and look at that, a move from Bertie that has actually taken him from the back of this fight straight to the front of it. Fantastic work there from these guys. Really clean racing, really fantastic fun to watch. We're going to go over to Gary Smith now. Gary is well in contention for a place at the front here. The top 5 still fighting incredibly hard. Absolutely no time separating these guys at the minute as we watch them enter into the heel section here. So look at these guys going around incredibly close. They're sticking on that bit of tarmac you were mentioning earlier, Chris, where you potentially got a bit of better drive off there. Now, they're going to have absolutely loads of slipstream behind each other here as they head now down into the final section of the course. Look at this. Nobody quite looking to make a move at this point. They're just following each other like a Skip Barber centipede almost, you could say. Vance Briggs, unfortunately, has had an accident. We're going to skip over to a replay of that now where Vance has gone off the track. It looks like, just lost the rear there on that section we were just watching a minute ago. That's on the toe.
I wonder if there was already a bit of damage to him there, because it looked like one of his wheels was hanging a bit higher off the ground than you'd like it to be.
Well, Skip Barber with 3 wheels is no good to us here, is it, Chris? So let's go back to Mr. Wilson, currently fighting for his life here in P, I believe that is 13 at the moment. So Carl Cranswick has gotten past Josh Wilson and Gary Bacon. Carl Cranswick, we were watching again at the back of that fight earlier, and has managed to make his way forward just in the same way that Andrew Bertie did with Luke Grundman and Morgan Driscoll. So fantastic work from Carl there. And it looks to me like he's got quite a comfortable gap between the guys behind, who again are all going to be fighting for position. Look at this as X will be going up the inside of Keith Sharp here, and they've got Neil Bamber and the rest of the pack behind him for company. Look at this. There's an absolute scrap barber here. 4 of them going down into the bus stop for a battle. Look at this. X will be really comfortable there in the lead. This is fantastic work. Car 22 following him really hard. This is excellent racing from these guys at the front of the park, with Keith Sharp now dropping from 1st down to 3rd position. Neil Bamber still in 4th, with Josh Pratt in 5th, following these guys looking for the next opportunity to shake up this front 5. Brilliant work here, Chris.
No need for any of these 5 to panic yet. Just because you're in the lead doesn't mean you're definitely going to win. We've still got the pit stops to contend with. In fact, it might be worth one of these guys taking an early pit stop if they think they're missing out on a bit of pace.
That's true. All this fighting does cost you time, which is probably why it's not a surprise that there's not much of a gap then between these guys and then Paddy Bennett behind it. So he's got only 3 seconds behind these guys, and he's potentially, again, if there's a big clash here at the front, these drivers in sort of P6 backwards could end up taking quite a lot of extra positions. And look at them side by side. Fantastic work into the left-hander here. X will be hanging on for dear life into the final section of the track. We've got car 44 there of Josh Pratt looking for a bit of action as well. And Keith Sharp makes his way back up into 3rd position as P1 and P2 still battling out hard here into the final corner. We haven't seen anybody tap this wall yet. And I'd be surprised if these guys pushing hard, we don't see one of them have an off track or a bit of a whoopsie at some point in the next few laps. As you said, Chris, a pit stop could come into play here. It's just a question of who blinks first.
Yeah, indeed it is. And now we're 11 minutes into the race, so the tyres will be nice and warm. They can start really throwing this car about. I think we saw it last lap through the bus stop. Some very aggressive moves through there. Are we going to see a bit more this lap? As it looks like Josh Pratt's dropped out of draft range, so the 5-car battle might now be a 4-car battle.
Rob X will be under threat here into that straight. Look at this now. So we've got the car 22 on the left-hand side here. They're all drafting each other. They're just dragging each other around. There must be a pace advantage from this when you're, losing some time from fighting in the corners. Oh, they're really tight there into the bus stop. X will be nearly losing a front wheel or a front wing, but he's just backed off and done the sensible thing there to keep himself in contention at the front of the pack. And he's on the inside of the outer loop here, really still trying to push Gary Smith hard for that P2. But Keith Sharp ahead now, able to grow a little gap because the guys behind him are fighting hard. Only a little gap, but look at this. Exelby and Smith still side by side now as they head into the final section of the circuit. Bamber just also hanging behind, looking for a little bit of action if he can get in there. Josh Pratt actually just sitting pretty at the back there, not in one of the fights particularly, but there's every chance he's going to be able to get involved in a minute. Keith Sharp pulling away now, almost a second ahead then, but I think this slipstream is probably just going to let these guys catch up. Again, we should mention that all these angles you're seeing of this racing tonight are brought to you from trackcams22.com. Trackcams22 bringing us every angle of the action. Key Sharp ahead as they enter the final couple of corners. X will be still sandwiched between Smith and Bamber here, with Pratt coming up for dessert. So can Sharp keep it, ahead? Will he be able to keep the lead here and escape from the rest of the pack as they battle it out for the other podium positions? Chris, I believe now we're about the 30-minute mark. We're not quite ready for pit stops yet, but we've already had a few people obviously have to head to the pits for accidents, and I think Grunman is one of them.
Yeah, let's see if anything's happened here. It's side by side with the number 7 and Morgan. Just a poor, unfortunate netcode accident, and those cars are stuck together there. So we have another car going off in the background. That was Cox, Tim Cox. That's very unfortunate for him. So go back to the lead battle here.
We've got Grunman and Driscoll in the pits at the moment. That's a shame for those guys. I wonder if we'll see Tim heading in as well. X will be now has a slipstream. He's got the pace advantage here on car 22 of Gary Bacon. He's going to get ahead, hopefully. Oh, he's on the inside here, coming up for Exelby. Coming up to the back of Sharp, and he's made a nice, tidy maneuver into the bus stop. I think we've probably seen an overtake in every lap so far, but look at that on the inside. He's managed to get it back up that place on Exelby. No problems from Gary Smith. He's quite comfortable taking that one back, but Exelby is going to have the inside line now as they head into shoot. And look at that. They are side by side drifting those skip barbers round. It's fantastic work from these guys. Excellent to see. And it looks to me like Gary Smith, the man of the day there, just managed to keep it together through those two corners and keep himself in P2. This is far from over though, with 30 minutes of racing left. I don't know how much vocal cord I've got left, Chris. I don't know about you.
I'm doing all right so far, so I can help you out a bit here if you like. I think Keith will be praying that Gary, Rob and Neil keep fighting each other, because it's probably his only chance of getting out of the draft range at the moment. They're so evenly matched on pace, and they lose so much time. I was keeping an eye on the gap between Keith and Gary on the way up to the bus stop, and Keith lost about 5/10 just from the top of the hill to the bus stop, just because of the draft, which really shows you how tricky it is for these guys to try and get away from an evenly paced guy.
Yeah, certainly noticed that at Spa, for example. So if you're the lead car at Spa, you're the kind of person that sprints up Eau Rouge Radion and you get onto that straight. The cars behind you can just chip away at the time, and you ahead have got largely no chance of defending it, really. So yeah, very, I guess, a similar situation, but maybe not quite as long a straight in this case. Keith Sharp, currently ahead, decent gap for Keith at the moment. He's quite comfortable, followed by Gary Smith, Rob Exelby, Neil Bamber, Josh Pratt, Patrick Bennett, Joe Turner McMullen, Andrew Bertie, Craig Shield, and Carl Cranswick in 10th at the moment. So that's your top 10. Let's have a little look here at the rear wing of Keith Sharp as he's being followed by Gary Smith and Rob Exelby. We get to see the whole battle between Exelby and Smith here from the rear wing of Sharp. So fantastic angle we've got here from Track Cams 22 that allows us to see this. Tim Cox in the pits, as we did think he might be a minute ago, and into the bus stop chicane they go, looking quite comfortable at the moment. No overtakes this lap between these guys, only these front four together now. And it looks to me as if Josh Pratt has just started to drop back a little bit from this pack, Chris. I wonder if that's just a case of he's lost that slipstream maybe now, and he can't quite keep up to the battle, or whether he's had a couple of accidents or slides maybe on the last couple of laps. Just heading
Yeah.
over to the chat. Oh, sorry, go on, Chris.
No, it just shows you how well the top four have done to have their battles without losing too much time. In fact, their last lap times, the four of them, were separated by just 500ths of a second, which is incredibly close.
I mean, just to look at the timings now, really, and see 2/10, 6, and then a second to Bamber. That's uh, incredibly close. I don't think we've seen a front four for this many laps through any of the other skip barbers. We've definitely seen similar battles in the pack, but not this high up the field. So just heading over to the Twitch chat. So thank you very much for all the follows that we've received so far. Just looking at a couple of the comments in here, we've got 306 Rally battles everywhere. Yes, there absolutely is. Hawkins Racing, loving this, might consider joining league next season if there is a space. Well, if you are interested in joining the league, make sure you head over to the Facebook group. If you're not a member, that's www.facebook.com/iRacing UK. Now we're going to go back to this battle between Keith Sharp and Rob Exelby. Now Keith looked to have a decent lead, and look at Exelby now up the inside of Keith there. No problems at all. That didn't look like a challenge for Rob at all. So the third and fourth position drivers of Gary Smith and Neil Bamber also looking to have a little go at Keith here, but let's bear in mind that Keith is now going to have that slipstream effect from Exelby, and he's already having a look around before they've even made it onto the straight, Chris, as they go side by side here now. And it looks to me like Keith has got, he's absolutely leapfrogged him. In some of the other cars that we've seen, it doesn't tend to have this much of a slingshot effect, but in the skip barbers, these things absolutely fly around each other.
They really do, and I do wonder if Keith just let that first corner move happen, knowing how much of an advantage it would be coming up to the bus stop. Although we say that as Rob tries to take the inside through here, doesn't quite manage it, and Keith is going to have the inside line into the next corner. So you'd like to think he's safe, although I really hope I haven't commentators cursed him.
They were incredibly close there. It did look like we were only millimeters from disaster there. Just having a little look down the field, it looks like Blenkinsop has headed into the pits. He's on the exit now. So that could have been a penalty, a drive-through possibly. I don't know why. Oh, 16 minutes. Sorry, that was 16 seconds. Sorry, in the pits. I've just read from the timing screen, so that could have been a drive-through. Perhaps we'll find out a little bit more about that later on as we continue to watch these guys at the front. And there's been a lot of occasions here where they've almost been 2 or 3 wide into a number of corners. Chris, if this was you in an F3 race, how would you hold it together with this much action on track?
I probably wouldn't, to be honest, Nick. It's incredibly stressful when you've got cars this close to you, because you just want to be able to focus on your own race, but you've got to think about, is that guy in front of me or behind me? Is his braking point slightly different from mine? Do I have to adjust for that? One of the things you can do in the F3 is just lift slightly early. Trouble with the skip barber is it's a bit less power, so it's far more about your momentum. So you really are driving on the limit the whole way round, which is just, again, a testament to the skill of these drivers, that they're being able to drive this close to each other without any incidents so far between the top guys.
We're currently with Guy Robertson, and he is following Morgan Driscoll. Morgan Driscoll, somebody that we've seen obviously in the thick of it at points during this race. Morgan, normally one of the stronger drivers we see on track, so normally some great racing. It looks to me like Guy Robertson fancies a little move here. We're going to go over to P1 though, because Keith and Rob have exchanged places again here. Keith making his way back into P2, but look at that on the inside there. We've got car number 22 of Gary Smith, who's now also made his way up, and we can't defend every position, and you're going to have to let Gary Smith take that place. And Keith Sharp now under threat from Neil Bamber on the exit as they go into outer loop. That means that Rob Exelby now can sort of charge ahead a little bit in this next section of corners and see if he can build a little gap while these guys are fighting behind him. It's very unlikely, as we've seen in the laps that have preceded this, because every time we think that P1's got himself a little bit of a gap, it's soon closed up by the guys behind who are fighting for second, third, and fourth. Josh Pratt now also still just keeping an eye on this battle from P5. He's been kind of within about a second of these guys, just keeping an eye on what's going on ahead of him. Hopefully we'll see him getting in on the action. As look at that, we've now got P1 and P2 side by side once again. Here goes Exelby and Smith. Who's going to come out on top? Smith on the inside line there looks incredibly tidy. Exelby's all the way out to the curb. They're using every inch of track that he can. These guys really clean in every bit of racing we've seen so far. Brilliant work here from Exelby as he keeps it ahead into the final couple of corners. But I don't think that Smith is interested in letting that go. We've still got Josh Pratt behind now, catching these guys even more as they battle into these last few corners. Who's going to come out on top into this next lap? It looks to me like Exelby excelling as usual.
Yeah, all five of these guys at the top. As Neil Bamber's gone into the pits, I did wonder if he was going to. He's been sat at the back of this train for a few laps now, and you wonder if this is just his chance to try something and see if it gets him out into the lead after the pit stops are all done. So we see him come in to make his pit stop. Is he going to be quick? We won't know until the other guys have made their pit stops who's practiced and who can get those extra few tenths by pitting just that little bit quicker.
Just looking back to the chat again, Mega Netcode. Yeah, it absolutely was that accident that we saw earlier. Really unfortunate for those guys. Gutted Tim, that comes from 306 Rally Eye. And then great battling from these guys. That's another comment there from Dr. Piston Broke. That's Charlie Bebb from leagues. You may remember him from the GT3 Pro-Am League. Rob Exelby in P1, where he likes to be, keeping it pretty comfortable at the moment. Everything's quite tidy. The gaps are starting to grow a little bit between P2 and P3, but I don't think that counts so much as we see Craig Schill there. He has just been, I believe, overtaken by Andrew Bertie as they were battling into the bus stop chicane. Andrew Bertie, we've seen a lot of great racing from him. We've seen him come all the way back. A couple of overtakes from him earlier on in this race, so great stuff from him. Craig Schill, though, up 3 places in this race in 8th position at the moment, hoping to bring himself a few points home this evening. We're going to go on board here with Keith Sharp as he follows the battle ahead of him for P1. So let's watch Exelby and Smith ahead going really drifty sideways in those skip barbers, trying to get every bit of grip they can across the track. Now look at them now as they come into the last couple of corners. There is nothing that separates these guys. Exelby must know there's a move coming soon with the draft, that slipstream behind him. I mean, how do you prepare yourself for a moment like that, Chris?
You just have to trust that the other person behind you is going to be sensible and not try and send it into any particular corner. Although, as we saw earlier, as we go, Exelby's taken his pit stop. Has that been triggered by Neil Bamber, I wonder, who did come out in clean air, it should be noted.
Neil Bamber out then, and let's see where he is on the track at the moment. Neil Bamber, I believe, currently running in 14th position. Is that at the moment? So he's down the pack a little bit, but that shouldn't phase him too much because we know he's quick, and I think he knows it too. So with any luck, after that pit stop, he'll be ready and raring to go in that clean air, like you say, and he'll start to pick his way through the field without too much bother. Gary Smith is now our leader, followed by Keith Sharp and Josh Pratt. Then we've got Patrick Bennett and Josh Turner McMullen. Then we've got Evans, Wilson, Cranswick, Noble, Bacon, and then Bamber now in 11th position. So Bamber out in 11th and Exelby out in 12th behind him. So Bamber staying ahead at the moment of Exelby. Fantastic work from Bamber. So that is a pit stop switcheroo, I believe. Is it, Chris?
I believe it is. Exelby was in fact 2 seconds slower through the pit stop, which I think accounts for some of that distance, but that shows you the value of an undercut. Neil's got ahead of Rob and managed to get a second ahead of him. Let's see if he can maintain that.
We've also just seen Craig Schill and Andrew Bertie on the pit exit. Oh, on the inside there, that was very racy. That is Josh Pratt in 3rd position, getting right up to the back of Gary Smith there. So these front three, P1, 2, and 3, are really closed up now. Now you think that Josh Pratt was actually hanging back a little bit. He had a little bit of a gap to the front 4 behind, but now he's well in contention. Oh, a little bit close to the back of Gary Smith there, and having to just come off the power and a little bit out of shape. Let's have a little look and see now if through the last couple of corners Josh can. Oh, he's really out of shape there. That's going to cost him a bit of time on these front two. Now, I wonder if either Sharp or Smith are going to fancy a jump into the pits now. Smith has got clean air ahead of him. Sorry, Sharp has got clean air ahead of him, so it makes no sense for him. But is he going to follow suit? He's gone in, so maybe it does make sense for him. In fact, actually, at the 18-minute marker now, Chris, this is probably the point where we're going to see a lot of them, as we've got at least 4 just dived in now.
Yeah, it's a lot of acceleration, a lot of full throttle in this circuit. So perhaps the fuel doesn't last quite so long as it does at other circuits. We've still got 18.5 minutes to go, though, as we're following Neil Bamber, who might be inheriting the lead of the race. We'll see what happens as the pit stops finish. Yeah, he's got Gary Bacon in front of him, who's a couple of seconds a lap slower. So will that affect?
This could well affect him now. Gary Bacon now diving into the pit, so that's just given Neil Bamber the relief, but I don't think that's enough relief, because look at Rob Exelby up the inside now. He's going to go for the maneuver here into turn 1, and I think, or is he? No, he's actually just going to back off it because it's more worthwhile him having that slipstream. Now, I think both the leaders, all the leading pack, that have just been passed. So all those that are just coming out of the pits are going to be behind this lead group of Exelby and Bamber, and it looks like by some margin as well. So 2 seconds back to Keith Sharp there. Let's now it's just a case of can Keith make up the distance now? Off the back of these guys fighting and costing each other time. But if they're sensible, Exelby and Bamber will just draft each other, tow each other around, to the end and try and gather a bit of distance. No rules against that, really. But look at Gary Smith. He's well back. Awful stop from Gary Smith by the looks of it. Maybe he just didn't quite set his fuel right, or maybe it just didn't get a great exit into the pits, but he's come out considerably behind. In fact, Josh Pratt has actually overtaken Gary Smith in the pit stop. So let's see if that order stays the same for the remainder of the race. With 16 minutes to go, it's been absolutely wall-to-wall action, and I don't know where to start on the highlights, really.
Yep, and I mean, you still don't want to make a prediction as to who's going to win this race, because it might well not be one of these two. There's still easily 4 or 5 people in contention. But if you're Rob Exelby or Neil Bamber, you're begging the other one not to fight you too hard. And there are ways you can communicate it with the car. So say, for example, here, Neil's not stuck his nose on the inside there. That's just saying to Rob, you keep going, go as fast as you can. I'm here to take you to the end, and we'll fight for the last 2 or 3 minutes when we don't have to worry about Keith behind us, because Keith is rapid.
He absolutely is. So Keith Sharp, I reckon, will be able to make his way up at some point. He's got the legs for it. We've seen him race hard in other. Oh, there was a bit of contact there between cars 53 and so that's Gary Bacon and Robert Noble there. Sorry, just read the names for you as said. So 53 and 37. They're now heading into the boot section now as they go for a bit of a battle here. Let's see what these guys can do. Morgan Driscoll looking to get in on the action as well behind these guys. Morgan Driscoll, we know he's racy, so we'll see if he can grab a place here as well.
Yeah, I think Rob Noble's going to be a bit sick of other cars by the end of this week. He spent a good 40 minutes in the Mazda race last night, stuck in trains of cars that he was both in the leader and a participant of. He's had seemingly no breathing space in the last 24 hours.
We've also got Martin Rendell here. So Martin Rendell in P21. He is unfortunately down 8 places. Driscoll's just jumped into the pits. We're going to ride with Rob Noble and keep an eye on this battle ahead of us now. We've got a replay of the pass on Bamber on Exelby here. We're just going to show you quickly. We just missed that as we were looking at the fights further down the pack. Look at that. Nice and tidy into the bus stop. It looks to me like Exelby's just said, yeah, have that one. I'll keep following you. Like you said earlier, a sensible pair of heads at the front of the field can have a lot of pace here, can't they, Chris? Lots of oval racing techniques, maybe, you could say.
Yeah, they'll leave it till the last lap because, again, if they fight now, that just brings Keith back in, and 3 cars into one final corner will not go very well, I suspect.
So, if you're watching us over on the Twitch channel this evening, thank you very much for giving us the view. Make sure you give us a follow. That costs you absolutely nothing. But you know what else doesn't cost you anything? If you've got an Amazon Prime subscription, you will be able to get a Twitch Prime subscription for free if you are an Amazon Prime customer. If you would like to use that Twitch Prime subscription that you didn't know you had, please use it on the iRacing UK channel. It goes a long way to making the content you get to see tonight and the racing that we provide to you live on air every Thursday and Sunday. Now, just going back to the battles here, Chris, we've got Carl Cranswick. He is up 2 places at the minute in 12th. He has been in for his pit stop, I believe, and now he's on the back of Andrew Bertie. So, Andrew, one that we have seen incredibly strong throughout this race so far. He's trying to hold on to P11 at the moment. He's chasing Evans in P10. Do you reckon Carl can make it back into the top 10s as he was early?
Yeah, you do wonder if he can. I was talking to him earlier. He's not had much of a chance to practice here. I know it's a circuit that once you know in one car, you know in many cars, and he's really pushing to the limit there. You see him so close to the wall, but even just an hour's practice can make just so much of a difference. It's just a tenth or two, but compared to say, I don't know how much Andrew or Jonathan have done, but if they've been able to practice, they're going to have that little bit more confidence to be able to hold off Carl here. But he's going to have a nice long draft up through here. Same as Andrew on Jonathan. So Andrew's perhaps Jonathan's probably the most vulnerable of the three here. We'll see how much straight line speed the two guys behind him have got.
Yeah, Mr. Evans going to be dropping a few tenths. We're going to go to a few passes in a minute after we've just watched these guys up into the bus stop. Let's see what Andrew Bertie can do. Oh, we've got a car off track there going the wrong way. That's McMullen, not quite following the sat nav by the looks of it. So there's Carl Cranswick staying out of this fight, and Andrew Bertie now staying ahead here, or getting ahead here, should I say, of Jonathan Evans. So fantastic work from Bertie. We're going to go back to a couple of replays now of the lead just to see what's been happening. So here's Exelby and Bamber through the S's, side by side once again. Bamber just going to slip in here behind Exelby and try and take advantage of that slipstream, but then he moves to the outside, or he has a little look at the outside anyway, before he settles in behind the rear wing of Exelby. Now heading up to the bus stop, we've also got another replay here of Bamber heading up the inside quite comfortably. That's on the outer loop section there. And then one more that we'll show you here. Exelby just heading down the inside on shoot there, but look at this. This is Exelby. Down the inside he goes, nice and comfortable, like a glove. He gets that P1 back. They've been trading it for quite a while. I think this is the most P1, P2 swap overs we've actually seen in any of the leagues. But let's not forget somebody who we thought had a pretty bad deal out of the pit stop. Oh, in the background there, we've got a drift barber. I'll go back to that in a minute, maybe on the replay. But looking at Keith Sharp, he's really closed that gap up between him and the front two, and he's back in contention for potentially the leading place. This is exactly what they didn't want. They were hoping to draft each other, give each other a bit of toe, but now Keith is in a position to make this 3 wide into the bus stop. Let's see what he can do here. He's absolutely gunning it. Oh, there's been some contact there. Contact, he's off track on the grass. Oh no! And now P1 and P2, that's Simon Bamber and Keith Sharp. They've come off track. That's unfortunate. It looks like there was contact as they headed into that bus stop chicane. Keith Sharp just touching wheels with Neil Bamber, and that has led them to head off the track and then recollide when on the re-entry. That's a real shame after some incredibly clean racing that we had already seen from these guys. We'll head over to the full replay of that now. Let's just look through it. Oh yeah, so if we go back to where they're on the straight here, a little bit of contact on the entry. Keith goes out onto the grass. At that point, there's absolutely nothing he can do, and then we've got a flip barber from Bamber there into the wall, and that is race over. We hope he's okay. Maybe we'll hear on the radio in a minute. 10 minutes to go. That is the front pack well and truly shaken up, with Pratt and Smith now making up the other 2 podium positions. So that's Rob Exelby, Josh Pratt, Gary Smith, Patrick Bennett in 4th, Craig Schill in 5th, and Josh Wilson in 6th. We're going to go to this fight between Andrew Bertie, Cranswick, and Evans here. This fight's been going on for a while, and oh my word, Carl up the inside, rubbing tyres there a little bit with Evans, and Bertie just trying to keep it ahead by the looks of it on the outside line there. These guys are going to be almost 3 wide, or maybe 2 wide, with Bertie just managing to creep it ahead, but there's a slipstream effect behind, but he's not going to be able to take advantage of it with Carl on the inside defending. And look at that, Carl now getting up there. He's not quite ahead. The battle's not over yet. I said Evans has got a chance to take it back here. Can he do it? Carl on the outside, following close behind Bertie, and it looks to me like Carl has solidified his position there. in 8th. Into the top 10 goes Carl, obviously after losing a couple of cars at the front of the pack with the likes of Bamber and Sharp. Sharp will be very disappointed with that after putting in such a performance, bringing himself up the pack. It did look a little bit like Netco, Chris. Do you think? We
I
have
think
seen it
it
once
was
before.
that initial contact, and can't forget they are absolutely the max speed of these cars. So that's any small amount of contact that the car perceives is going to really unsettle it. And as soon as he was on the grass, he was a complete passenger. I don't think there was a huge amount any of them could have done about that. It's just an inevitability of 3 cars going wide into the bus stop. There's only so many laps you can concede that by lifting off on the way in. At some point, you're going to start thinking, I want that position. And this is just the unfortunate consequence of it, I suspect.
Now, Cranswick following Bertie very closely here as they head up towards the bus stop. But let's not forget Evans there, who's also got the draft. So they're going to go 3 wide. And what a way to watch a battle with track cams 22 angles. Look at this. Carl goes absolutely aggressive there on the kind of outside. He's made it. He's absolutely done it. Look at the work from Carl there into the outer loop. He's got it under control. In fact, he's managed to actually take a fantastic line there as they now head down towards shoot. This is going to be great work from Carl, who has made his way up to P7. You said that he hadn't practiced very much, Chris.
Well, he's obviously a quick learner, isn't he? I think he did very well because he had quite compromised exit speed coming out of the bus stop, but he managed to keep that back of the car just in front of Jonathan there. And Jonathan, fair play to him, got about as close as you can without being any real danger there. Oh,
Oh,
looks like a
John's
bit
got
of
at the
a
inside, but Carl a little bit slower
possibly
on the
some latency.
outside. Yeah, or Bertie kind of vanished a little bit there, I think, but that's nothing to do with the fact that I think Cranswick had a little bit of a bad exit, but always had to go a little bit wide there to give some room for Evans on the inside. But Evans not been able to get the job done, so Carl's safe on this occasion. I think we're going to have to start calling him Carl Crans quick at this rate because he's done ever so well tonight to solidify that 7th position there. And he's only got Josh Wilson ahead of him. He could soon potentially make up another place if he in the next 6 minutes if he's got his head screwed on. X will be ahead. He's got quite a commanding lead now. He's got a 3.9 second gap to Pratt behind. Pratt being followed by Smith, Bennett, Schill, Wilson, and then this battle that we're seeing now as Bertie moves out. Now let's go over to Tim Cox, who we haven't seen very much this evening, apart from a little wobble earlier that's then saw him into the pits, I believe. So he is following behind Sharp and Bamber. Now, this battle between Sharp and Bamber, obviously, the guys that have had the incident already, they're going to zoom off being the front runners. And Tim, we should just be able to watch the elegant ballet of Skip Barbers ahead of him as he follows them into the first corner. We're going to go back to the fight between Bertie and Evans as they follow Cranswick, who's now starting to build a little bit of a gap from these guys. He will still be giving a bit of a toe to Evans behind as they head into the bus stop, but it looks to me like Evans got the edge there and Bertie not really able to. Oh, Evans off the track. He's drifted it wide into the grass and he's kept it under control. All the pieces of that Skip Barber appear to still be in the position they should be. What's that going to do to his tyres? He could have a bit of grass there, could be a bit mucky, and put him a bit out of touch from the tarmac for the remainder of this lap. 5 minutes to go. There's every chance he could catch up as Bertie goes wide on the grass as well. They're pushing really hard. Chris, do the tyres go off this much in a 45-minute race?
They're certainly not as fresh as they are 40 minutes in. I don't think the drivers will have needed to change tyres in the pit stop. You're certainly going to have to really pay attention to what they're doing as you get to the final stages because you're going to start getting tired, especially where all these guys have been fighting really hard, really close battles all throughout the field. And, it's the mental energy as well as the actual tyres themselves. You've just got to keep on top of it all. And it does look like the guys behind Carl there have been pushing very hard to try and keep up with him. And it's just cost them both a little bit. But both of them recovered quite well, I must say.
Brilliant racing from all of these guys tonight. It's been a pleasure to watch. Just going over to our comments, we've got Abby Quinn. That's rough. Hate to see it. Yeah, you can tell when there's been a crash because the chat wakes up all of a sudden. So great battle from these guys. So that's rough. Hate to see it. Dr. Pistonbroke gutted. Hawkins Racing. That's terrible. Was such a good fight for them three. Abby Quinn was looking forward to see that battle continue for a lot more laps too. So yeah, absolutely. We all feel the same. Chat, we're we really wanted to see it come to a three photo finish across the line if we could. Patrick Bennett, we have not followed throughout this race, but I'd like to mention that he is currently up to P4. Fantastic work from Patrick here. We haven't seen him up here in the upper echelons of the race, I don't believe, at any other point during the league. Now, he is chasing Gary Smith. Whether or not he's going to be able to do it in 3 minutes doesn't look likely to me at the minute, Chris. But X will be ahead with a 4-second gap at the minute. He does look quite comfortable. We're going to go over to Pratt because although we just mentioned Smith, he's actually fighting Pratt for P2 at the moment, and they are about to go side by side. And only a tenth between them. Oh, incredibly close. It looked to me like Smith fancied a little go on the inside, and Pratt just had to hold it in. Around 2 laps to go for these guys now, so it's going to be a case of trying to keep it tidy and just keep it ahead. All your lines nice and clean. Let the other guy make the mistake. But we all know that's not how it goes because our inner driver gets a hold of us and we want to race. And occasionally, accidents do happen. Joshua
Yeah.
Pratt and Gary Smith, however, very tidy and no accidents yet. Hope I haven't cursed that, Chris.
Well, I think Paddy will be using his league admin mind control powers to try and get these two to crash into each other. I just had a quick check of the previous race results, and Paddy's best finish before today is 18th. So this is an incredible result for him if he can hold it for the last 2 laps, which he's in nice clear air. So you'd like to think he can manage it.
It'll be a big old points haul for him, won't it? If he does that, it will surely bring him a few places higher up in the league. These guys using all of the track and even the bits they're not supposed to as they go incredibly wide in turn 1. Now up the S's onto the straight as they head into the bus stop chicane. Which one of them is going to be brave enough for the maneuver this time? Will it be Pratt or will it be Smith? By the looks of it, it could be either of them at the minute with 22 and 44 heading in now. Let's see who comes out on top, and it's 44. The car of Josh Pratt has managed to keep his nose ahead in P2 for the moment, with Gary Smith just biding his time in the last couple of minutes of this race. Rob X will be ahead. He'll be quite comfortable. He'll be tootling off, not really worrying about what's going on behind him. Because at the end of the day, these guys, with the fight that they've got on their hands, they're not racing Rob X will be at this point, really. They're racing each other. So the more action they can give each other, the better for Rob, really. And even maybe Mr. Bennett. So again, if we see the kind of incident that we had between Sharp and Bamber, what's to say that the likes of Mr. Bennett can't make himself a little P2 this evening, Chris?
Yeah, he'll be hoping and praying because all it takes is one little incident. Because 8 seconds, that's a strong recovery you'd need if you go off the track from an incident there. And you've only got one more chance on the way to the bus stop for that draft. And you do wonder, are we going to see a lunge into their next lap round? Because while it's not the last overtaking opportunity, we are, you don't really want to be trying it around that corner there on the next lap, which is the last lap.
19 laps they've done so far and 19 fantastic laps we've seen so far. So Josh Pratt having to defend incredibly hard here from Mr. Smith, only 2/10 separating them into the last corner. I don't think that Gary will really want to take the place here. He's going to prefer to do that as they head into the final lap on that long straight into the chicane. Let's go on board now with Gary Smith, as it looks to me like Pratt's gone a bit wide there, and that's going to cost him. Let's see. He's going to be happy to stay behind as he takes advantage. Yeah, a little bit of a lift there, I think I heard on the throttle as they go up the hill, up the S's. Chris, I think that this could be the moment that potentially puts Gary Smith into P2 for the end of this race if he can hold it together.
Yep, Smith's looking for a slingshot there, and it does look like he's got it. Is he going to be able to get ahead into the bus stop? Are we going to see any heroics? They're really close to each other.
Oh, it's close, but they've kept it tidy, and it looks to me like Smith just managing to hold it together. He's got the inside line into outer loop here, and that looks like the move done. Licked the stamp and sent it. Gary Smith in P2 with Josh Pratt, though, going to the outside to have a little look as they go into shoot, because it's not over yet. There's another straight that could play into this with obviously that hard braking zone into the right-hander. So Gary Smith, you're not out the woods yet, because Josh Pratt is going to be right behind you all the way. He's got the wider line there. It looks to me like Smith taking a slightly tighter line and maybe a little bit, equal exit speed, I'd say there. And it looks to me as if Josh Pratt is going to hold onto the back of that car. Look at that Exelby. You can just see he's cruising ahead. No concerns there. As Pratt moves to the outside, P2 round the outside. Can he do it now? They're giving each other plenty of room here. And it looks to me like Pratt's got the move done, which means he's going to have the inside line for the next corner. And that is very advantageous for Pratt as long as he can hold it on to. Gary Smith, I don't think, is going to be able to do anything about that now as they head into the penultimate corner. Here we go. Gary Smith, can you make a maneuver here? I don't think it's going to happen. Josh Pratt's going to come over the line in P2 potentially here. Rob X will be taking a commanding victory ahead with a 5-second lead. And Josh Pratt, look at this fantastic driving from these two drivers. Smith only a 10th behind, I believe. That might actually break the record possibly for the closest finish after the first race. Brilliant work from Patrick Bennett. He's made it into P4, followed by we've also got Craig Schill, who should be coming around the line any moment now. Brilliant driving from these guys. Rob Exelby, congratulations on the win. That's absolutely fantastic racing that we've seen from Exelby, Sharp, Bamber, and the likes of all of our early front runners. If we go to a quick clip there of Keith and Neil Bamber. Brilliant racing. Now Craig Schill, Wilson, Cranswick in 5th, 6th, and 7th coming over the line, followed by Jonathan Evans, Andrew Bertie, and then we were just waiting for the likes of Morgan Driscoll, Robert Noble, and the rest of the pack to come across the line. Well, Chris, that was epic. I think that's probably every time we have a Skip Barber race, I say that's probably the most exciting race we've had so far. But I feel out of lungs after that one.
Yeah, it didn't feel like 45 minutes at all, did it? It feels like we're just about 15 minutes into the race. You just couldn't take your eyes off that front five the whole time. And I mean, even there, you just saw we've had Keith Sharp and Neil Bamber still fighting each other right over the line. There was less than a quarter of a second separating them. So even after their pit stops and repairs, still giving us some action there.
Looking to make amends, fighting to the very end, having a clean end to the race after that unfortunate incident they had earlier on that looked like it could have been a bit of netcode, but maybe we'll have a little look at that later on. Just going over again to your comments on the Twitch. Dr. Pistonbroke round the outside, what a lad. Abby Quinn, that was well fought. Aaron Callender, brilliant last lap there from Pratt. Some great racing there. Well done, guys. And then lots of other comments here complimenting the racing of all of the guys that we've seen out here on track this evening. So your final result there is Exelby in first. Fantastic race from him. We were expecting to see him up the order. We'll get the full results on screen for you now. And Chris, you can, if you're willing and able, you can run us through them.
I've still got a little bit of voice left. So, yep, Rob Exelby taking a very good win. That's 40 points to him. Josh Pratt in second, just holding off Gary Smith in third there at the end. That completes our podium. And as we mentioned, Paddy Bennett in fourth with a brilliant result for him. Then we've got Craig Schill back in fifth. That's still a good result for him. Josh Wilson and Carl Cranswick, neither of whom told me they did any practice for this. That's a very good result for them too, 6th and 7th. Carl just holding off Jonathan Evans and Andrew Bertie at the end there, who come in at 8th and 9th. Keith Sharp and Neil Bamber have recovered to 10th and 11th, followed by Morgan Driscoll, Rob Noble, Vance Briggs, Joe McMullen, Tim Cox, Gary Bacon, Tony Blenkinsop, Luke Gunman, Martin Rendell, who didn't make it to the final lap, unfortunately. And then further back, not finishing, we've got Guy Robertson, Jacob Robotham, Ian Winchester, and Sam Spinell.
Well, what a race we have seen this evening. This has been absolutely fantastic. We've got in the commentary box with us at the moment Rob Exelby, who we're going to speak to now. So welcome to the commentary box, Rob. And what a race. You've been for the last 45 minutes. So when you had the lead at points throughout that, we noticed just how much of a disadvantage the lead car had with the guys drafting behind. I mean, the tactic for you at that point, what was it? Just let it happen, carry on. There's 45 minutes to go. Yeah, we did notice a lot of that. You guys kind of holding back a little bit after the 90 and almost just waiting for the moment to pounce. Now, was there a particular moment in that race, Rob, where you felt um, worried for the race? Any particular scares? Well, fantastic race that we've seen from you, seen. And Chris, any questions over here for Mr. Exelby?
Yeah, I just want to sort of get your perspective on when you see your fellow leaders have an incident like that. Obviously, no one wants to see these accidents, although thankfully, this being a sim, no one's getting hurt because that was a nasty crash. But you must have breathed a sigh of relief that you finally had a bit of breathing space after what was an incredible half an hour of action before that.
Well, they were fighting to the very end. We watched them coming over the line, and it was still a spectacle to behold. So, nonetheless, fantastic race from all of you, really, in the grand scheme of things, wasn't it? So, um, Rob, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box tonight. Congratulations on the win, and we look forward to seeing you in the next round. Right, we have got the championship standings on the screen for you, Chris. Over to you.
Yeah, well, we were saying no one had broken the 100-point barrier. Rob Exelby has done it with style today. He's on 115, miles ahead now of Gary Smith and Josh Pratt, who are joint second on 74 points. Keith Sharp's on 69, so he's still within touching distance. He's really not had the rub of the green this week in either of his championships. Carl Cranswick's in fifth on 56 points, followed by Neil Bamber on 50. Then we've got Vance Briggs and Craig Shaw on 41 points, Josh Wilson on 38, Morgan Driscoll on 37, and that rounds out the top 10. Special mention to Paddy Bennett, who's gone up 13 places, up to 29 points in 13th position. So well done to him.
Fantastic work there from Mr. Bennett. That is great to see. Well, I say, what a race we've seen this evening. As usual, the Watkins Glen track has shown us some fantastic slipstream battles. Now, if you like that, you're really going to like what we've got coming up for you in the next few weeks. But before I tell you that, we just have to talk again about Amazon Prime and the advantages of being an Amazon Prime customer. One of those being that you get a free Twitch Prime subscription. If you're enjoying the content, you're following us already and watching a couple of the streams, and you want to see some more, feel free to please donate that Twitch Prime subscription to the channel. It really helps us a lot with getting quality production content out to you and all of these races from the various leagues that we run here at iRacing UK. Now, on Sunday, we say bonjour to Spa-Francorchamps, or should I say bonsoir, as we head there for a dark but damn right exciting night race where our rookie and AM drivers will go head to head in the fourth round of season 2 of the iRacing UK GT3 League. And hopefully, it goes without saying that the following Sunday, we'll also see our pro and pro-am drivers undergo the very same low light extravaganza. This time next week, we bring you more open wheel action from Interlagos in the form of the Formula 3 League, where we could see yet another commanding win from Matt Lucia, who has so far driven a near flawless season in a spectacular single seat racing experience. Chris, how are you feeling ahead of that next race in the Formula 3s?
Nervous on a personal level. It's not a track I've had too much experience on, especially in the F3. I did one race in the officials. They were there last season. So we'll see what happens. I'm not a particularly strong qualifier, so I'm hoping that the people in front of me get a bit overexcited on lap one, because that's usually how I make my places. The drafting overtakes on Will here at Watkins Glen last week are very much an aberration, but it should still be an excellent race worth tuning into for everyone.
Excellent stuff. Thanks for the insight on that one. Now, looking further ahead, we will also have the start of the Porsche Cup League in June. It's June the 6th. And then if that tickles your fancy, make sure you head over to the Facebook page. That's facebook.com/iRacing UK. And we're more than happy to welcome you into the Discord. Not quite ready for a full-on league experience? Well, you're in luck, because the No Strings Attached Community League runs every Saturday night. And once again, we welcome you to head over to the Facebook page, and you never know, you might bag yourself a win and end up in the Race of Champions, which will air on June the 12th. Thank you very much to everybody that's followed, subscribed, watched, enjoyed the content this evening. Thank you to our drivers on track who have shown us some fantastic racing here around Watkins Glen. Again, congratulations to all of our podium sitters and our winner, Rob Exelby. Thank you also to Chris Rowlands for joining me this evening, and also Sean Cranley-Swash behind the scenes, providing cameras that were made available by trackcams22.com. From Chris and me, it's good evening, and thank you for joining us for the stream.